Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss. And thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do.
And do tech
good.
There we go.
Perfect in unison.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live at DevFest, Florida, 2019.
Yeah. We are in Orlando, and we're at the Disney Contemporary Resort. It's been a magical day, and it's been
so
fantastic.
Magical.
It's been magical. Speaking of magical, we have a magical guest with us today.
Literally a life-saving human being.
We saved the best for last.
Amazing.
The best for last.
Yes.
Just like the best for last, right?
What is that?
That song from what's her name?
Vanessa
Anyway, we'll
Williams.
get back to that. So thank you. Thank you, Eva. Eva knows.
Life-saving.
Yeah.
I told you.
It's like all wintry and
Oh
stuff.
my gosh.
That's my
What?
jam.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
We
what was
have
it?
Eva. We'll get back to it.
Oh.
We have Eva. Sophia knows.
Wow,
Did
thank
do it?
you.
Did he do
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
Yeah, of course I did. I get it right the first time, every time. Say the best for last. Being on a show and
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
yeah, it's truly our pleasure. Hey, before we start, let's get some context about you. Exactly, who are you and what do you do?
So I am Eva Sofianos. I teach computer science at Lehman College.
Ah, awesome.
It's in the Bronx, City University, New York. I used to be at IBM for well over a decade. Started out in research, did some web development, went into cloud development, and decided I need to teach because I was working at IBM full-time while teaching part-time and realized my true passion is teaching.
Wow.
Huh.
That's incredible. What gave you that passion?
Yeah.
What was that moment
Yeah.
that you knew?
Well, it wasn't one moment. It's every moment that I see the light in my students' eyes. When they finally get it, it's just like, oh, yes, I helped them get it.
Oh.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing like helping people and like seeing that, having that experience and being able to pass your knowledge on.
It's very, very fulfilling.
So you know, speaking of being amazing that you are, what was your talk about today?
So my talk was titled Nailing the Tech Interview, and basically how to succeed in a technical interview.
So I remember when we spoke to you on the show a few weeks ago that you said you were going to give Janelle a live interview, right?
Would you like to do some whiteboarding?
Let's do this.
Here we go.
I'm not sure you want to.
I don't. I really don't.
No?
Oh,
All right, so
okay, maybe not. I got so excited.
Like, no.
I could give you a fun puzzle question.
Ooh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, so
Can we all answer it?
Wait, yes.
sure.
Okay, we're excited.
All right, let's see. Off the top of my head, here's a common one. Okay. You have two pictures. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. One of them you can measure, let's say, 5 ounces. The other you can measure 3 ounces. And there's this imaginary lake.
Okay.
We are in Florida. There are lots of lakes, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we have a 5 ounce, a 3 ounce pitcher. Exactly that. There are no other markings on them.
Okay.
And I need you to go to the lake and bring me back 2 ounces of water.
Okay.
Figure it out.
2 ounces of water.
You can't use anything else other than those 2 cups. You can do whatever you want with those 2 cups, but I need exactly 2 ounces.
And one is
5.
5.
The other's
and
3.
The other's 3, and all you need is 2 ounces.
Mhm.
Can I just put 2 ounces in one cup and bring it back to you?
How would you know it's exactly 2 ounces?
Because there's no measurement.
Yeah.
on it, right.
No, much. She said there's measurements.
Oh, you did?
Didn't
Only
you-
the 3 ounce and the 5 ounce. That's all you know.
That's it, right? So I could just tell by looking at the cup of the 3, and I could divide it in my head.
I have here.
You fill up the
here,
5.
I have a.
You
can
empty
I-
3 of it into the 3, and you have 2 ounces and 5.
Okay. Here's mine.
That it?
Here's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, how about you?
no, never mind. I'm done. I quit.
I thought I had it, but
Okay.
All right. How about if I ask you to bring me 1 ounce?
well, I guess it's the same.
No, Lance.
Oh,
What?
sorry.
No,
Jeez.
I already stole my
jerk.
thunder.
Well, we are the Thunder Nerds.
Yeah.
Accurate.
What of our
Insane.
thing?
That was the fun.
Never mind. I don't want to answer.
Try, come on.
I don't want
You guys are so mean at the end of the day.
I didn't.
Be nice.
I loved it now.
Answer the
I like
question.
you.
Oh,
I
no.
thought it was a group
Sad
question.
day. Yeah, well, okay,
right.
great. Yeah, but those are good examples. So by those, what do you obtain from someone?
You obtain whether they're able to communicate and think out loud, or
Mhm.
just kind of say, I give up. Or
Sure.
why on earth do you want to know how I'm going to figure out bring you 2 ounces of water or 1 ounce or whatever it is?
Right. It's one of those. I remember hearing those like famous questions where people had said that they interviewed at Google and they asked them like, how many ping pong balls can you blah blah blah. But just like you said, it's not about the question or the answer to the question. It's more about assessing someone's ability to communicate. Right. Yeah.
And to problem solve,
Yeah.
as opposed to just run away from the problem.
Did it.
'cause
You did do it.
You did do it.
So
Yeah.
my answer was to let it spill over into a cup. The excess. Whatever's excess would spill over, and that would be 2 ounces.
Apparently, I didn't
That's good,
understand the
too.
question at all, but I
That
had
was
fun
my
with it.
answer.
Well, you all
That
get
works
an A
too,
for
actually.
effort.
Yeah.
Woo, A for effort. Nice.
I went last.
Yeah. So what are some of the more prominent takeaways within your talk?
Within my talk, well, there's a superhero pose. I think I told you. I'm just goofing around now, but it's
Yeah.
serious. You need to own it. You need to have the confidence. I did poll the audience and ask them also if they knew what percentage of resumes, if they are submitting online, what percentage actually gets through and gets called for an interview.
Oh, yeah.
Probably very few.
Take a guess. What percentage do you think if you're submitting only online?
Like
12.
out of 100%.
Well,
So-
usually
so
it's out of
That's how that
100%.
works.
Sure.
And I think like maybe 20%.
Okay.
I'm lowballing it because I think
Should I give a hint as to
Yeah.
whether he's high or low, or?
Yeah.
I'm going to say
hot and
10.
cold.
I'm going to say 10.
Okay, you're closer.
So
Oh.
4?
You're very because
Wow.
it's 2 points.
Wow.
Incredible. So
I thought I was lowballing it out of 100. Really? Wow, that's really. Yeah,
So what's the
surprising.
reason for that?
Yeah.
the reason for that is you need that human contact.
Yeah.
Okay, networking is serious business.
Yes.
We're here at the DevFest. You guys are doing the podcast. A lot of people were able to meet, shake hands, get to know other professionals in the field, and expand their network. So they're increasing their chances for success.
So my question would be then, those 2% that made it through, those 2%, were they? How many of them were people who, that example, actually had connection? How many didn't?
Well, so those 2%,
Excuse me.
Face.
they didn't necessarily have the human
Thank you.
connection. Over 30% of hires are done, or at least interviews are done through that human connection. But the
Okay.
2% of resumes that get through online submission, it's because they followed not putting crucial information in the header, because the applicant tracking system, especially ones that are older, can't necessarily process the information and it'll get lost. Or keywords, using the proper keywords, making sure that they're applying to jobs that they are a good fit for. Tailoring their resume for the position, tailoring their cover letter, not saying, oh, it's optional.
Or not even sending a cover letter. Yeah.
mhm. So it's really hard work if you're only doing online submissions, therefore that 2%, and you feel like you're getting nowhere. But when you meet and greet and expand your professional network, even if it's virtually, let's say Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, you're really increasing your odds of finding that dream job.
Well, there's so many opportunities out there where you would say, you know what, I have this opportunity open and I know so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and I think they'd be a great fit. So a lot of times they're either the decision maker or the influencer. They already know some people that they deem would be qualified for a position. So when you have these outside people coming in, they go, well, yeah, that's interesting, but I think I would really enjoy working with X,
Yeah, I mean, we tend to go with what we already know. It's more familiar, less scary
Yeah.
than what or who we don't know. It's human nature. Now, that doesn't mean that you may necessarily be filling the position with the best person for the job, and that's something that we need to be careful with. But we can increase our odds if we're not the person that they already know.
Yes, very true. Yeah, that's interesting psychology.
So I have a question. How is it different for, let's say, a woman or a non-binary person, or maybe a person of color, versus someone else to get these jobs with soft skills?
With soft skills, how it might be different? Well, hopefully there isn't prejudice against any one particular person, but you never know. I can't speak for what might be in somebody else's mind when they're interviewing, but you make an appearance, whether it's a name or the way you look, they have that first judgment, and not everybody has a clear mind to walk past that. But body language is important as well, regardless of what you necessarily look like. I mean, you can dress the part, and you always want to appear professional.
True,
You want to have proper body language. You want to express yourself clearly. You want to get past any prejudice and really impress whoever it is that you're speaking with, regardless of what they may have had in their mind. Hopefully nothing. Well, not emptiness, but hopefully nothing bad.
You only want.
Are
really
you still
cool
here?
Hello.
It's the Netflix for your brain.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like there's a problem with the system, and that what you're addressing is a way to work with what exists now, but there definitely seems, if only 2% are making it through, I mean, I understand there's a lot of missed opportunities there, and how do we address those missed opportunities?
So thousands of resumes could be submitted for one single position. And it's one position, right?
It's crazy.
How many people can you bring in for an interview? Given that interviews take time, they could be anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days if it went really well. And you're like, oh my goodness, do we or do we not? They're so close. Interviews really are more for not making the wrong hire, and you always want to make the right hire or fit the position with the best person for the job. But it's a very hard call.
But isn't that where the whole, I mean, to me, that's where I think recruiters, like outside recruiter agencies, that's like a job I feel like they should be doing. Like that brings those 2% in, narrows it down to the 2%, I'll say it that way, and actually filtering out, going through the people. And I feel like the recruiters are not actually doing that job. I think they're more like factories of trying to get people in, as opposed to like really getting to know if this person fits the role. I don't know if that makes sense at all. And because I feel like there's really something that could give more people the opportunity they deserve, filter that down to the company, so it isn't like 1,000 people they're having to deal with. And it doesn't seem like that exists anywhere in the market. Would you agree or disagree with that?
So recruiters work based on their commission, and
Yeah.
they're doing their job. And I think that they also have a very challenging position because they are on the line to figure out whether a particular person is a better fit for. I think I said position instead of person. A particular person is a better fit for a position when they have an idea of what they want, but they need to speak with the employer over and over.
Yeah, but again, that gets like, imagine a recruiting agency where it's just like going into a job interview, where they ask the questions like you just asked. That doesn't seem to be out there. Something that really could filter it so that they can handle those thousands of resumes, maybe filter down more, maybe bring it down to 20% or something like that. And that way, like, there's real talent that's coming through and really gives value to recruiters. To me, I've tried here and there through the past working with recruiters, but it tends to be just completely wasted time. Like and I've worked with a variety of different recruiting agencies, and they don't even know really what the position is. They don't know really what you are doing, like what skills you have. They make assumptions make assumptions based on maybe they're not directly related to the company. They're just trying to like sell this person to that company to make their commission. So, I mean, do you feel like there is an opportunity out there that something like this would make sense?
Well, I guess we could try and focus more on the content of the resume and matching it better.
Yeah.
There is a portion in which I am saying, okay, you need to have your professional summary. You need to make it as clear as possible what you're looking for and what you're capable of given your professional history. But if we look at that 2% out of 100, that means 2 people out of every 100 applicants submitting online. If you have 1,000 applications, well, tack on an extra 0. That's 20 interviews. If you bring 20 people in for an interview out of 1,000 that applied or 2,000 that applied for a position, I mean, I'm from New York, so in New York City, you have
Yeah.
No, I completely
numbers
understand.
get big. So it's really hard to change that number, but there are other things that we can do instead of focusing on the online submission, going through the recruiter process. And if you find a good recruiter, great, then you're luckier. It's that human contact.
Yeah.
If you know who's hiring, or if you can build your professional network and connect with them possibly and find out, tell your for this particular position or these particular positions, and here, pass my resume along if an opportunity arises. You really increase your chances for success and not necessarily bypass the recruiter, but maybe get a step up.
I mean, I think there's a huge benefit. I mean, I'm a hiring manager at my job, so I've interviewed a number of people. We haven't filled tons of positions. We don't have tons of positions. It's a smaller company as far as design goes. But the recruiters, the people they bring in tend to, again, like there's not enough filtering. And we use an outside agency for a lot of our hiring. And I really do. I mean, I think anyone listening to this show, if you want to have a startup, I think that they're a real recruiting agency that is dedicated to being, hey, we bring these people in, we interview them for real, we ask them the questions you would ask, you work with us to help develop the questions, and then we filter them down to 2% or even less. So like these people really would fit for you, as opposed to making a company that, it's time-wise. I mean, some of ours, when I was initially hired, it was a whole day of interviews. Like even the CEO interviewed me when I was hired. I don't know if you answered that. So that's a big deal. And if there was something out there that really, that's why I'm bringing it up. Like I wish something was out there like that, because it would really benefit. Like I want to ask the same questions they do, and I want the interaction, but I don't want someone coming in who just is completely just going to blow those questions.
So are we trying to say, hey, is there a recruiter out there who's willing to give it a try?
Yeah, create an agency that will do this. Like,
do you mind if I pivot off a little bit off of this?
Yeah.
Oh, let's jump into, we're already at the interview.
Yes.
We're face to face, and the point comes up in the conversation in the interview, which always does, where they say, do you have any questions for us?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
What are maybe 2 or 3 of the things that you should ask?
So do you have any questions for us? So if it hasn't been covered yet, you definitely need to know what the goals of the team are, if you haven't already found that out. So that would be a valid point. What your expected role in further detail, if that hasn't been covered, because these are things you want to cover.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, well, they just gave you the cue to ask. You definitely need to ask if, of course, again, it hasn't been covered. When will I hear from you? Or when should I expect to hear from you?
Yeah.
And the reason is, whether you're going to get positive feedback or negative feedback, you are going to follow up. And if you haven't heard back from them after you've done your initial follow-up, which is usually within 24 hours, maybe 48, if they said, oh, we'll probably get back to you in about a week or so, that week passes and you haven't heard anything, dead silence, ghosting, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just checking in. I'm I'm very excited about this possible opportunity. I want to remind you in whatever words you feel are appropriate that I'm, yes, the best candidate for the job. And I just want to make sure I haven't missed any emails from you.
That's important.
That's great.
It's a good way to kind of say, oh, did it go to my spam folder? Maybe
Yeah.
you sent me something, good or bad. Hopefully good.
Yeah, but hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah, that's good advice.
A big part of the interview too, right? You have to be just as engaging and just as proactive about things. Right?
Oh, one of my buddies just said that he didn't get a job at one place because, and I'll get to that part. He didn't send a thank you note right away to say thank you for the interview. So he had an interview on a Friday, and he followed up on a Tuesday, and he's with a thank you note. And then the guy said to him like, "Thanks, but I expected this earlier."
What?
And that was that. Yeah. So
see, the problem with that too is like every company is completely different. So some companies, like if there's a thank you note immediately after, depending upon the personality and the people there, they might be like, "Whoa, they're way too anxious about this job," or way too like. I mean, it's just how do you determine when it's good? When it's not?
I think you could put your feet in the water and tell if it's warm or cold and get some kind of idea of if this is the kind of company I do that with or not. But I think it's always probably good to err on the side of manners and like just like a simple like a thank you note when you get a gift, like things like that. Even if you deem it might not be appropriate to send your buddy a thank you note, but you probably should. Like, just feel it out, and if it feels right, then yeah, and you go. Well, even if you're like iffy about it, I would say yes.
What would you, as the expert?
You always say thank you. They're taking time out.
Is there a time frame?
Yes.
What would you suggest to people?
24 to 48 hours.
There you go.
It's customary.
Business.
So you want to send it when you think that they'll be checking their emails because people get so many emails, right? Once upon a time used to be a typed up letter or handwritten letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Now would that
takes
actually,
snail mail, right? And
well, you could drop it by. I mean,
Well, I
Even
usually
better.
do the thank you note.
like, do you think that's better?
When I do the interview?
Yeah,
so
I would
like,
love to know
as
that.
I do the interview, I literally drop it in the mail. So like it goes in the mail before it's even before I even do the interview.
So I would advise against that.
Why?
Because you want a few things in your thank you note, especially if you have multiple people that you're interviewing with.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to be unique for each one of them.
Mm.
You want it to be totally honest from the perspective of, yes, I am excited. Have that enthusiasm come across by you including something that you discussed during the interview and matching up one of your or two of your key points that show you're the better fit.
Right. Oh, that's great.
So you would go for every person that interviewed, you'd give them a thank you note, not the
Take advantage if you have all those lakes to fish from, if you will. Put your hook in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the
Wow.
advantage of that too is like my example where there might be someone who might be like, "Oh, this guy's too anxious." There might be one there is like, "Well, this person really wants the job. I'm gonna push the yes."
Yeah.
It's better to show that you're interested
wow.
than show that you're not interested.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd argue if a company is like that, where they're like, "Whoa, he's too anxious," then
Like,
maybe
do
you don't
you
want
really
to
want to
work
work
for them.
there?
Yeah.
You might not.
And I would, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I would also append to that to say, follow up with a submission to connect via LinkedIn right away.
Really?
Yeah. If you meet that person, you're serious about working at that place, have that LinkedIn connection. Hey, let's professionally link in. Let's become part of the network, and maybe even like you were talking about with the things that you add that are the reasons why you make a better fit or not. Or you make a better fit, but also maybe some kind of like little personal thing that communicates that, whoa, we're in the same group. So, hey, yeah, and good luck on your trip to Kansas next week. By the way, something that I paid attention. We had a personal connection, and we make a good fit together. Yeah.
And writing the thank you note you need to take some notes sometimes before you leave,
Yeah.
just to remember, okay, person, name, in case you goof.
And
You shouldn't,
Yeah.
you shouldn't necessarily, but sometimes the nerves
Yeah.
get the best of you. And the LinkedIn connection,
Yeah.
if you know who you're interviewing with beforehand,
Even better.
even better.
Yeah. One of the things that I always tell people, and what I'll do, any kind of meeting I have with anyone, I always get my iPhone out, I hit record, so I could write notes and this and that. I would say the same thing with an interview. Get your iPhone out, hit record, walk in the door.
I would say be careful with that, but it's not a bad idea. Just be careful with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird though. We go out to eat at a restaurant. He's like takes his iPhone out, starts recording.
Remember last week, and I'll play it back. Remember last week when you ordered blah blah blah.
So obnoxious.
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean,
are you recording me?
Yeah.
Constantly.
I have one. We're getting towards the end here. One final question for you that I feel like it's not given enough attention, and I've been trying to ask it to all our people that we're interviewing today. Is a lot of work goes into making presentations, a lot of behind the scenes effort. And a lot of attendees may not realize that the amount of work that goes into being a speaker. Could you give us a little behind the scenes of what you do, what's like, what your process was like?
Sure. It always depends on what your content is going to be and the talk type.
Yeah.
So this is a talk that doesn't require me to live code, which I've done those types of talks also. It doesn't require me to display code on the projector. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to go through the whole debugging process and making sure that, my code is still legible.
Yeah.
I'm getting enough of it to show up and still get my point across. Everything works. Clarity's sake, that. For this type of talk where you are sharing resources, because you can't possibly cover everything that goes into preparing for an interview.
Sure.
What happens during your interview and then following up in a 30, a 40, an hour talk. This is weeks worth of material. So you do your research, you speak with others in the field, you make connections, ask for feedback. I guess pick your mind, use your personal professional experience from both sides of the table, interviewer, interviewee. And you stay organized, put it all together, make sure that it has a logical flow. I mean, pre, during, and post is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But making sure that your transition isn't too smooth or too rough, and that you can either increase your time length or decrease it without having to severely modify your slides based on how your audience is feeding off of the material.
That makes sense. Yeah, what you're getting back from them, you can make a judgment call there.
Yeah, and maybe the organizers need you to condense your talk or expand your talk because of scheduling issues that always come up.
Yeah.
So that's most of it. As far as practicing, rehearsing, I don't like to follow a script. I like to be off the cuff.
Nice.
I know my content.
Mm-hmm.
I know my slides. I have links to resources or after so that people can go and read and review. And there are links in the speaker notes. I share them publicly.
Oh, awesome.
But I ask questions. I interact. I poll them. I say, show me 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is your guess to the answer? Or what is the percentage? Everybody has a different style, okay? Or for different talks, I have a different style. But my general style is interaction, break first.
That's awesome. Well, Eva, we're at the end. Sorry.
I just want to say one last thing that to our listeners, because it's our final
sure,
show.
Please, yeah.
We just heard all the effort it took her. You heard all the other speakers. Do this though. If you listen to our previous episode with Mike and company when we interviewed them about how they choose speakers, they get people that are experienced, inexperienced. They try and get locals. Anyone can do this. You can do it next year. Think about doing it.
Janelle's gonna be.
We're
gonna
going to do one tug. I am not.
But, so
Yellow
Can I
toe.
say something about
Yeah.
starting out?
yeah, go ahead.
So everybody has their comfort level, right? If it's your first talk and you think you might want to try it, I would say try a lightning talk, a 5-minute talk, 10-minute talk,
Yeah.
instead of a full talk,
Yeah.
and then build up.
Great
And I
advice.
think I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Here it comes.
You ruined it by saying this.
So local meetups definitely do
Yeah.
5-15-minute lightning talks. So Orlando, ODevs does it. Orlando JS, ONet, One Tug, CodePen, and
Yeah, just get
Those
on,
are the
go,
ones, yeah.
go on Meetup. Go on Meetup,
Do
look around,
Meetup.
and
Yeah.
you'll find tons of resources.
also
But,
go to his meetup.
yeah,
It's
go to
Figma.
Figma Meetup, and it's on Tuesday. Was that the 24th, 22nd?
Go to Frederick's meetup. It's at his house.
It is. It's there every night.
Got the Bronx, yeah.
GDG Bronx.
How can people? What's the best way people could get a hold of you, find out more about you?
You can find me on Twitter, Eva Sofianos. You can find me on LinkedIn, Eva Sofianos. I guess I could spell it because it's a hard name to spell.
Sure, and we'll also
Right?
put the links in the show notes as well.
All right, so then that's fine. EVASOFIANOS. Fine, thank
Yeah.
you.
Fun show.
Thanks.
Very much
Thank you.
appreciate
But
it.
I'll like hug you. You're the best.
Any other last words before we sign off, you two? I had my spiel.
Thank you everybody for watching, and thank you DevFest for letting us come
yes.
down here. We super appreciate it. It's been a great day with a ton of great speakers and lots of lessons to learn.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
definitely learned a lot for sure, I think, from everybody.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
guys. Curtsy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bow.
Bye.